So good morning again. Back to the class on smart materials and structures after your internals. So before starting, can anyone brief out what you studied in the previous class? We were dealing something related to smart materials and structures. Sorry, the shape memory alloys basically related to module 2. So what we dealt in the last class, can anyone tell me within a very short period of time? Be quick, what we dealt about? Anyone in the class, please? You have studied for the test also. What you did in shape memory alloys? Danush,
Yes, ma'am.
what you dealt about in the last class?
Ma'am, last class I was absent, ma'am.
Okay. Who? Mohan Ambal was there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what we studied in the last class?
Types of shape memory alloys, characteristics of that, then hysteresis loop,
Okay.
then
Yeah.
types of shape memory behavior.
Yeah. Then anything else apart from that?
Superelasticity shape memory behavior.
Yeah, so basically in the last class, we dealt about exactly the phase transformation and classification of the shape memory alloys and what is the difference between the shape memory effect and super elasticity effect. Okay, so how the changes will be in the molecular level of these materials and how the phase transformation takes place with respect to thermal aspects we dealt about. And also we studied the hysteresis loop similar to that of a piezoelectric type of thing, what we have studied already. There we focused on the application of the electric field for polarization, and here it is nothing but you are applying the stress and the strain related to the amount of deformation it is coming into picture, whether you are heating it or cooling it. So based on that, we have similar hysteresis loop. So we dealt about this. So how will be the starting point from here to point 2, from here to 3, 4. So we went on with respect to a closed loop where we had 3 axes here. So along X we had strain, along Y we had stress, and along Z it was the effect of the temperature what we came across. So how the variation in heating and cooling will change in the phase of the shape memory alloy from austenite to that of martensite. So always during cooling, we do get the martensite phase. So when it is subjected to heating, so we get an regular austenite phase. So before from austenite to martensite, the twinning comes into picture. So first it will be twinned and again later it will be detwinned. So there will be 2 twinning process which comes into picture right from temperature increasing to that of cooling effect. So cooling effect will start with the same detwinned martensite picture. So again it comes back with the temperature effect to the austenite phase. So this we dealt about in step by step with each stages how it works out. And also we dealt about the 2 types of shape memory effect. One is the one-way shape memory effect and the other one is the two-way. And we dealt about the super elasticity shape memory. And also some amount of properties of shape memory alloys with respect to nickel titanium based, we dealt exactly what are its important properties. So now next portion in your syllabus is related to experimental phenomenological process. So it is like phenomenological process means it is a step-by-step process what we follow. It could be for experimental aspect as well as for making the mathematical models. So we go to the experimental phenological process, how shape memory alloys could be developed. Before that, because after that we have in our syllabus related to Tanka's constitutive model. So to understand that, you should be knowing some just related to phenomenological models also. So I've just shown you an diagram here to have an outer view of what does it contain basically. So here, whenever you say phenomenological, either experimental process or related to the model, it helps you to describe the microstructural behavior of that particular material. If you're doing experimentally, then you can visualize its microstructural properties and behavior when you subject to scanning electron microscopy or FESEM. Okay. But if you're doing related to the mathematical model, then also it helps to represent the variation which is coming across with respect to different parameters in the form of mathematical equation. And hence this phenomenological aspect is very much important. Either it is an experimental aspect or mathematical modeling. Okay. And hence this behavior of analysis with respect to phenomenological aspect is divided into two categories. One is the experimental based, another one is the thermomechanical based. So what happens in case of experimental based phenomenological model? So here you will build on curve fitting of the experimental data. Means when you just synthesize and shape memory alloy, suppose you have synthesized and wire made up of shape memory alloy. So which gets expanded when it is heated and it gets compressed back or comes back to original position when it is cooled. That is the nature of shape memory alloy. So when that shape memory alloy wire is developed, then you subject that to some of the equipments which helps in evaluating its functional properties. So when you get the functional properties of that specific shape memory alloy, then you will list out all the values of its functional property. So that is nothing but the experimental data what you get. But you have to map the experimental data with that of the theoretical aspects. Then only you can say that the theoretical models which are derived is exactly matching with that of the experimental data. Sometimes what happens is theoretical model will be always right. So when you try to compare the experimental values, what you are getting for that specific shape memory alloy might be nearer to the theoretical value, or it might not be exactly to the value of the theoretical aspect. Why? While you do the experimental aspect, there'll be some manual errors, some contaminations in the material, how you have synthesized. So there'll be slightly variation in the experimental data, what you get. But the trend of the curve, how it is for, suppose if the trend of the curve is exponential for the theoretical, even the trend of the curve, what you get for experimental should also be with respect to the theoretical curve only. If it is showing some linear or some different type of curve for the experimental, then it shows that the experimental value or the theoretical thing what you have developed is wrong. So it is not matching the area, the trend of the curve nature, what you get for theoretical modeling as well as for the experimental should be similar. Then only you can map. But values you can justify that it is nearer, not too close or exactly meeting. So to verify this values, it is always necessary to go with experimental based valuation or validity with the theoretical aspect. For that, this phenomenological model is very much required. And to get mapped with the theoretical and the experimental, we need a curve fitting. So when curve fitting, we'll do the various analysis and you will find out the regression equations which matches, and this is the data what we are getting. And to get this curve fitting nature, we need only very few material constant properties. So it depends upon which material you are using, what are the material constant properties needed. If this is enough, the existing mathematical equation will be used, and that material constant values will be submitted to the mathematical equation. Then you will evaluate the experimental data and you will compare, then you will evaluate the mathematically modeled value for that particular shape memory alloy wire. Then you will compare that with the experimental data. So this is for experimental based phenomenological model. Here you won't be developing any models. Models will be there in existence because many models are developed already for shape memory alloy. you will select the model which is more feasible for your experimental result. So once you select the most feasible model, then you will map the curve of the most feasible model with respect to the curve of your experimental data. Both should have the same trend. If that is the case, then you can map easily and say that the experimental value what you're getting is mapping with respect to this specific mathematical model which is already well established. Then you can say that the route what you have followed to synthesize this particular shape memory alloy is right, and even the values is mapping with theoretical. Always remember, whether you're studying something or doing a project, you have to do the validation. Validation only will show that the work what you have done is exactly right or wrong. Even though you do the experimental approach in your project, you have to show and validity to it. Either it could be the validity with respect to the simulation software what you are using, or it could be the validation using any mathematical model equation. So that is a theoretical approach. You have to compare the theoretical approach with respect to the experimentation you're doing, or the experimentation with respect to the simulation part using the software. So any one of this has to be mapped to see that the work what you have done is tested and validated. So this is a basic thing what you have to understand when we go for any type of models. It could be piezoelectric models, or it could be shape memory alloy models. So this is the experimental based. Next comes the thermomechanical based. So in thermomechanical based, what we will be doing is, first you will build on thermodynamic theory. So when you are developing some shape memory alloy wire or any device with respect to thermo approach, then you will keep all the material constants which are essential based on the thermodynamic theory, and you will set right the variable models which are available. Then you will be having the experimental data. You can compare it, or you can also see in another way where you need different material constant values. Okay, so you will compare all the available material constant values with respect to the variable models what you have under thermomechanical approach. So which will map, you will select that as an best thermomechanical model. Here you are not comparing with the experimental data. If needed, we can do that, but it will be still a lengthier process. Here you are just matching with the available material constant to see that which is the most optimal variable model under thermomechanical approach. So when they have to develop a shape memory alloy with respect to thermo behavior, then they can easily select the best thermomechanical model for their particular work. I told you this shape memory alloy will get the change in the phase transformation either to mechanical loading or due to thermal effect. So it is called as thermomechanical based. So based on either thermo loading or mechanical loading, you should be having a best optimal mathematical model. So they will identify which is the best mathematical model by adding the variables of all the available material constants and check which is the most feasible one. So this is with respect to thermomechanical based phenomenological model. And the last one is micromechanical model. So these models are basically based on micromechanics theory. So one is based on the experimental data, the second one is based on the thermodynamic aspect, and the last one is based on the micromechanics theory. Every material what you are using could be visualized under macroscopic view or the microscopic view. If you go to the microscopic, it goes to the level of atoms or molecules, which is not visible to our human eye. So you have to use an SEM to analyze the micromechanics concept of that particular material. Remember, we are not telling anything related to the experimental aspect. It is a micromechanics theory concept where we will be following for the micromechanical model. So here, what happens is the macroscopic behavior of the material is always related to its micromechanical state. So in which micromechanical state it is? So based on that, the macroscopic behavior of any shape memory alloy will be related. And this material could be thermoelastic or not thermoelastic. It could be thermoplastic also. So you have to identify the material what you are using is almost thermoelastic. Why? All shape memory alloys have the capability to come back to its original position irrespective of high amount of mechanical loading or high amount of temperature which is subjected to. So always the material what you select should be thermally effective with elastic in nature. So you have to select the material which are of thermoelastic. Okay. So here they have two main mechanisms in case of thermoelastic materials. What are those? Formulation of martensite variants and reorientation of martensite variants. These two is necessary. Why? Because when you have a thermo aspect, when the temperature has been enhanced, it will be in austenite phase. So later when the temperature is removed, it goes to the martensite phase. So formation of the phase from austenite to the martensite should be reached successfully with respect to the thermo effect. And hence it should be having the formulation of this phase very easily. So it should be suitable in elastic thing so that the twinning which will come across at the atom level and molecule level should go very properly. And again, retwinning takes place. So in that, the reorientation of the molecules or the atoms in the martensite phase should be possible. So if this has to be possible, the material what you take should be always super elastic in nature and they should be having a very good response to the thermal effect. So these are the two main mechanisms which will be easily made possible for shape memory alloys if you are using a good thermoelastic material. And apart from that, the thermoelastic material should have a very high, large number of the material constant. So sometimes the material constant value is not more than 1000. Okay, so then it results in not in good thermoelastic behavior for some particular shape memory alloys. Alloy, again, it's a combination of two or more components, right? So it again depends upon which is the combination of shape memory alloys we are using. So we mainly dealt with two classifications. One is the nickel based, another one is, which is the other one based shape memory alloy? Can anyone let me know? The two main classifications of a shape memory alloys we have dealt already in the class. What is it?
Copper, copper alloy.
Yeah, copper alloy and nickel based. So out of these two, which is the best? That also we dealt. Which is the best?
Copper alloy is
Copper alloy is the best. Is it right? Copper based and nickel based we dealt about. Okay, one is economically feasible and one is more expensive, but related to the other properties, which was termed to be as the best. Think and let me know. That is dealt already, but still you are in a state of dynamo. Nickel based alloy is expensive, but still it has better properties than that of copper based. Okay, so later we need to move to Tanka's model. Before going into the theoretical approach of modeling, so let me just cover some of the advantages of it. I hope the phenological model which are available is clear for you people.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes or no? Yeah. Now you have to go about for advantages. So shape memory alloys have many advantages. One thing is it has a very high power to weight ratio. Okay, so this is the one with respect to the how much is the weight you are getting, with respect to that the high amount of power what it is yielding with respect to the required output is high. So it has high power with respect to the weight ratio. Second one is, so it is accessible to all kind of voltages which can provide you the required thermoelastic transformation. You know, if you need a particular specific amount of thermoelastic transformation in a shape memory alloy from austenite to martensite phase, it needs some input. And if you can subject any amount of voltage in order to induce this thermoelastic transformation. So this is one of the category, a plus point. Whereas in case of piezo, you cannot apply a very high amount of voltage. If you apply a high amount of voltage, then it might make the material which is polarized to get depolarized, or to make the material non-piezoelectric also. You have to see what is the capability of the material to withstand the amount of voltage to a specific device. So every type of piezoelectric material have a capability of minimum amount of voltage what it can bear. But here it is accessible to the large range of voltage to induce thermoelastic. Why? Because this is very elastic material which can withstand any type of high type of loading, pressure and temperature. And it has the capability to come back, and hence it has an open access to any range of voltage. And third one is high strain recovery. That's what, when it has a capability to withstand high amount of mechanical loading or the temperature, the amount of strain induced in that material is also high, but it can recover back because of its elastic transformation, and hence it has a higher strain recovery in comparison to that of piezo material also. And next, due to high strain recovery, due to high power and weight ratio, it has a higher strength in comparison to other smart materials. So these are the major advantages of any shape memory alloy. I'm sorry. And it is very compact, because the shape memory alloys what you devise is of in a very small thing. It is not like a huge device what you built up using a shape memory alloy. You will draw that into the form of wires usually, or a very small device which is been made. It is so that it will be very compact. Since it is very compact, it helps in reduction of the actual size, and you can easily use that device wherever you go. The device could be mobile. You cannot say that this is a huge equipment, I cannot shift this from one place to another. If I transfer my location, it will be difficult. No, you can carry, because it is very compact and it is easily movable. So this is one of the advantage. And next is the device which you operate using shape memory alloy is noiseless. It won't result in making any vibrations. At least in piezo material, some vibrations can come into picture when you subject for energy harvesting and all. But in this case, it is noiseless. Okay, so it is operated very silently, and it will not be any disturbance to the people in and around that device also. Particularly in a smart material lab, if you have n number of devices, but this device will never make a noise, and you cannot identify that you have some device here, because it is of very small and compact also. In that way also, it has a very good advantage. And lastly, it has a very high corrosion resistance. So the device what you make by using shape memory alloy will not get corroded easily, since the alloys what you use is of high corrosive resistance thing. So these are all the plus points of using an shape memory alloy. But you can tell that every material will be having its own plus points and negative points. So it has some limitations also. So what are those limitations? Since it is operated with respect to the temperature effect, the amount of heat dissipation will be higher. So you need some mechanism for a proper cooling. Suppose if you apply a temperature of around 1000 degrees Celsius to reach to austenite phase, right? So again, you have to cool. So to cool, you should be having a proper mechanism so that it gets cooled quickly and comes to the Martensite phase. If you do not have a proper mechanism for cooling, then the heat dissipation will become a problem. Okay, so if the entire heat is dissipated, then only you can reach the Martensite phase very quickly, or else it will get prolonged in changing the phase from austenite to that of Martensite. So a proper mechanism for cooling the temperature subjected to the austenite phase have to be checked in. This is one of the drawback. So heat dissipation should be think about, but it is not a major drawback also. It could be overcome by using a proper mechanism. Since it is highly flexible, it is having very less stiffness. It is a super elastic material which can expand and contract at any number of time for any amount of high temperature and mechanical loading. That shows how flexible the material is. Whenever the material is very highly flexible, the amount of stiffness in that material will not be high. So this is one of the drawback. You won't be having any stiffness, good amount of stiffness, whether in austenite phase or in the martensite phase, because it is highly flexible. So this is one of the drawback. Next one is, and it is relatively expensive to manufacture, okay, this type of shape memory alloys. Why? Because it requires a very complicated type of complicated and sophisticated equipments in order to develop the shape memory alloys. But usually, you know, whether it is steel or aluminum, it could be easily synthesized. You don't need a very complicated equipment to develop the steel devices or aluminum devices. We do use in our day-to-day lives also. The steel utensils are needed, the aluminum utensils or any other thing which is made from steel or aluminum, it could be easily fabricated. And it is economical also, and it is not too costly. Why? Manufacturing these devices are done by simple machine which could be operated easily by any labor, and it is user friendly. So it won't be expensive. But in case of shape memory alloy, it is expensive to manufacture because it needs sophisticated equipments which need a very trained labor and also high skill of concepts related to the properties of the material as well as the amount of norms to be followed to reduce the contamination. So a keenly dedicated technicians are needed to synthesize shape memory alloys by using sophisticated equipments. And those equipments should be maintained very well, calibrated very well, or else you won't get an actual, true, pure material of shape memory alloy. And lastly, most of the shape memory alloy have very poor fatigue properties. Okay, so this is one of the negative aspect. Even though it has many plus points, these are the negative aspects where one has to think about to still make shape memory alloys a very strong contender in the market. So one has to think about how to overcome the heat dissipation by providing a best mechanism for cooling, and to see that we need a flexible material. So with high flexible material, how the stiffness factor can be kept at least to the minimum. So that has to be checked. And since it is relatively expensive, we should find a synthesis route which can make this synthesis of shape memory alloy economical to the common person. Okay, so this is a way how the limitations can be overcome. People, the researchers are trying their level best to overcome these limitations. So this can also be like an research gap on which you can think about doing your project as well. In every module, you have some lacunas where the work is not done or still going on to make these materials to be very superior in the market. So if you focus on these aspects and play in fine-tuning the synthesis route or to overcome the heat dissipation, you can just think about some projects as your MTech based. I'm just telling you the ideas. So again, deciding is left to you people. After this, applications. So again, the applications of shape memory alloys, it has its own area, right? So first of all, it could be used in aircraft. to reduce the engine noise. Why? I told you that shape memory alloys always operate noiselessly. It won't develop any noise when it has been performed in a particular device. So in order to reduce the engine noise, this shape memory alloys could be used. Okay. So some designers, what they are doing is they are installing chevrons onto engine to mix the flow of exhaust gases and reduce the engine noise. So these are the way how they are compensating to reduce the noise in the engine of the aircraft. So in this way, it could be overcome. And next is, it is also used in automotive area, where here the converters, heat activated smart materials. So they are using the smart materials here in convertees heat chamber. Okay, so when it is needed, it would be able to provide the required heat and again absorb the heat in cooling effect, right? In case of any automobile, you can provide the cooling effect in the car, well, AC off and AC on. It helps you to provide the required heat when needed and to cool the interior of the car when it is needed as per the customer's need. So if you use this kind of smart materials, it can easily provide a cooling effect when needed and heat effect when needed within the interior. So even this is possible in the automotive applications. It is also used in robotics. So one of the examples is, there is a researcher by Lowe. He has introduced a prosthetic hand. So this is a prosthetic hand which is being shown over here. So this person has introduced this prosthetic hand in robo. Okay. So this can almost replicate the motion of a human hand. You know that human hand is very much flexible. You can provide any number of movements. You can open full, you can expand how much you need, and again down and fully down, close the wrist tightly and open. So this much amount of degree of freedom we have in a human hand. But when you develop an humanoid robo, it can just show some movements, fully open, slightly compact. It cannot show all these constraints of degree of freedom. If the robo has to do all these motions, it should be having a uniform amount of jerks in movement. Means it should be jerks free and it should provide a relative closing of the fingers and opening of the fingers. This much amount of tendency developing in a humanoid robot is very difficult. But this person, Lowe, has developed a prosthetic hand using shape memory alloys. Because the shape memory alloy is so flexible, you can get the human tendency of flexibility in the wrist as well as in the fingers and the hand. So this is one of the area of application in robotics. And similarly, even in civil structures, there are some applications. So shape memory alloys find a variety of applications in civil structures also, such as bridges, buildings. So how? Here you should see that the applications is on the intelligent reinforced concrete, which is in short called as IRC. So here what happens is, it is incorporating shape memory alloy wires within the concrete. So you know the normal configuration for mixing the concrete. So along with the mixture for making the concrete, these shape memory alloy wires will be embedded as an dopant. So due to this shape memory alloys, it helps in developing intelligent reinforced concrete. Only concrete you are using means you have the mixture of sand and other composition. But if you want to provide some intelligence to the concrete, you should add something which is smart. The smart, which is what we are adding here, is shape memory alloys. And hence, when you embed shape memory alloys to the concrete, it helps in developing intelligent reinforced concrete. And another application is like based on actively tuning of structural natural frequency using shape memory alloys to dampen the vibration. So when you use the natural frequency modes, suppose you are using some device, a cantilever, to get the required modes of frequencies. right? So in that you'll be having the vibrations which is coming into picture. If you want to dampen the vibration, then you need something to absorb the vibrations and reduce the amount of vibration. In that, if you use the shape memory wires, it reduces the noise and hence the vibrations will be reduced. So in this way, you can overcome the vibrations also. So these are the applications which are being used in civil structures. And also it is being used in piping and in field of medicine also. So in piping, what happens is usually the first consumer commercial application used by shape memory coupling was on piping. So here the piping was done with the help of shape memory coupling of shape memory to that of an piping. Example is oil line pipes for the industrial applications. So here the pipes were developed by using shape memory coupling to transfer the oil for industrial applications. Similar to the water pipes, you have huge water pipes which transfers water from one end to the other. But whereas they developed the similar kind for oil transformation in industries, so that it will be very flexible and it will be and it will allow to move the oil and it will not affect the oil with respect to the temperature variations. So it helps in this way in piping aspect also. One more thing is it was used in coupled tubing also. So this is mainly based on memory alloy coupling. Okay, so this is the diagram of it. So it's not necessary to go into so much depth. With respect to piping, you tell one, and then you can focus on medicine. Medicine is a huge requirement now because it is focusing to our heart. So here, if you just add a stent made up of shape memory alloy, it helps to get the required functioning of the arteries which are blocked due to damage. You know that we have n number of arteries in our human heart, right? So we have pulmonary artery, the aorta, which transfers the pure blood to all the parts of the body, and again it collects the impure blood also. So if you find any blockages across in any arteries, then the circulation of blood to the entire human body will be disturbed. In that case, it affects the human health very badly. So if the stents are added made up of shape memory alloys, it helps to get the required amount of transportation of the blood with reduced amount of blockages, because it repairs the damaged arteries, because the shape memory alloys are developed with very minor diameter at micron level also. So if you use that type of shape memory alloys in between the blockage, the shape memory alloy will expand, right, due to the pressure of the flow of the fluid. Fluid here is nothing but the blood, and due to that expansion the blockages will be opened so that the blood can move very freely. Okay, so this helps in overcoming the blockages. So you can see here it is a regular artery where you have the blockage, and here a stent has been placed. So when you place a stent over here, it helps to remove the blockage and allow the blood to flow. This is a very important application related to the medicine, which is an boon to the human health, because many people, when there is a blockage, if it is not possible by laser treatment, they go for open heart surgery, and there are many cases where they have failed and many people have died also. Even after open heart surgeries, they will be very delicate. They cannot do the actual work, regular work. But if this type of stents is been implanted, it will be very helpful to remove the blockages and to see that the blood is flowing properly and circulated to entire part of the body. And I think lastly, the next application is optometry. Everyone uses specs sometimes in their lifetime, right? So the eyeglass what we use should be more comfortable and flexible. Sometimes people in the very beginning, they used to use only the eyeglasses made up of glasses. So now other type of optical glasses are also there, which are not breakable, unbreakable. All those type of techniques are now out, but all those frames are also not flexible. So if you need some flexible type of eyeglasses, it is better to go with shape memory alloys. So these frames, eyeglass frames, are made up of titanium containing shape memory alloys, so that this makes the frame very flexible. You can fold and keep it in your pocket also. It will be so flexible, and when you wear, you won't feel very hard. Sometimes when they wear the specs, they get pained because it is providing a very tight grip. The frame is tight or the frame is hard. Some or the other complaints will be there. But if you use this type of frames made up of shape memory alloys, it will be flexible and very light. You won't feel like you are wearing a eyeglass frame. So it provides so good effect to the customers, and they will not realize that they are wearing the eyeglass from morning to evening. So these are there already in the market, and these are from the company of Flexon and Titan. Okay. So here they are developing the frames with respect to titanium coated with shape memory alloys. Titanium is again a very costly one. Even though it is costly, it is durable and it is having a very flexibility along with the shape memory alloys. So these frames are usually made up of shape memory alloys that has a great effect at transition temperature set below the expected room temperature. So always the transition temperature is set below the room temperature. Why? Because the room temperature itself will be the austenite phase. At that temperature, the material should be in the austenite phase. So when it is cooled below room temperature, then the shape memory alloy can go into the martensite phase. So you cannot subject any heat treatment above room temperature because you are using it for human body application. The temperature should be feasible to the room temperature, not above that. So at this temperature criteria, the shape memory alloys are used to make these frames. So this allows the frame to undergo a very large deformation under stress. Okay, so when you're wearing the specs for a long period of time and due to the stress, some stress in your mind, so it might get deformed little bit. Okay, and again it will regain its shape back once the metal is unloaded again. So all these things are good enough for the human being to use an eyeglass frame in replacement to that of the existing frames which are there in the market today. It might be a little expensive, but still it will be more convenient and ergonomically designed for any human being to use this type of eyeglass frames. So this is one more application of shape memory alloy with respect to optometry. And then comes with respect to the experimental phenomenology. I hope the application parts are clear, guys. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, first we dealt about the phenomenological model, how it helps in comparing the theoretical models with respect to the experimental approach, yeah, thermomechanical concept, yeah, micromechanical models. And we dealt about the advantages as well as its limitations, what are its applications. So once you are thorough with all these, you should know exactly how an shape memory alloy is developed. Okay, so this has a major thing. So before that, you have to understand how the shape memory wires are synthesized. Okay, so here, let me complete the phenomenology part. So here you can see that the shape memory wire is always subjected to a temperature cycle. Okay, so as shown in figure 3.2, I'll just show you figure 3.2. I think it has gone. Yeah. So you can see this is the shape memory alloy heat treatment process. This is for one-way shape memory. I have explained you the one-way as well as the two-way. So we are focusing for one-way shape memory effect. So you can see that the shape memory wire This is a shape memory wire at low temperature. So when it is subjected to heat, how the deformation is coming into picture. So when the temperature has been changed and cooled properly, so it comes back to its original position. It is a full recovery at temperature 2. And again, it could be still cooled down. So then it comes to the back to low temperature. Suppose it was below the room temperature initially, then it will be in the Martensite phase. Then you subject some temperature heating effect to it, then the material gets slightly deformed and it reaches the austenite phase. And later you will reduce the temperature still, but it is not at low temperature. It almost comes to the original position, but you cannot say that it has come back to the temperature T1. So to that again you need to cool so that it comes back to the original Martensite phase. It is the first Martensite phase. It is the austenite phase here, where it is twinned once. It is detwinned here before fully cooling. After detwinning, it comes back to its original position of Martensite phase. So again, it will be heated and again the process continues. So this is just an diagram to show you how the temperature cycle is subjected to the shape memory wire. Okay. So at the beginning, the wire is in fully austenitic phase when you subject to an high temperature. And that austenitic phase from here onwards is represented by A suffix F. I have written here AF, but that is A suffix F. So whenever A suffix F comes into picture, you should understand that the material is at austenitic phase. When it is in austenitic phase, it is at high temperature. Okay, so you can see directly, okay, when it is at in the beginning here, okay, they are considering in a different way. In the beginning, they are keeping the material at the austenitic phase. So the first one here, which is at low temperature itself, is the austenitic phase. At that time, the temperature is A suffix F. And later they will cool. Further, the wire is cooled until it reaches a temperature at which the phase transformation begins. And later, the material is cooled entirely. The cooling is coming here. So this cooling takes place until the material comes into the Martensite phase or the phase transformation. Phase transformation is nothing but the Martensite phase. Phase transformation begins. So this leads to the transformation from austenitic phase to the Martensitic phase. And the temperature at the Martensitic phase is always represented by M suffix S. So hereafter, if I say A suffix F, it is a temperature at austenitic phase. And if I tell you M suffix S, it is a temperature at Martensitic phase. And at Martensitic phase, what happens is the material begins to change its phase to Martensite. Means to say that it hasn't reached the Martensite phase fully, but it will now start to change the phase from austenite to Martensite. So change of phase will begin at MS, M suffix S. So when it has started the phase to change, when you further cool, then the complete Martensite plate begins to increase. So initially it will be in the austenite phase, and later you start to actually the explanation there is not fully given, I hope so. So this initially will be in the Martensite phase when it is in room temperature, and then when it is subjected to heat, it comes to the austenite phase. What I explained you is right in the beginning, and later it is started to reduce the heat. So when it reduces the heat, it comes to the Martensite phase, but fully Martensite state is not reached. So here the temperature will be A suffix S. Here the temperature will be M suffix S. Means it has started for the initiation to achieve the Martensite phase, but it hasn't reached full Martensite phase. So that is M suffix S. So after it reaches Martensite phase, when you do the further cooling, the material will be detwinned and you achieve the required Martensitic phase. So once you have reached the Martensite phase, when you start subjecting to the heat, then again it tries to go to the austenite phase, but it hasn't reached the austenite phase only, but it hasn't achieved the austenite. Okay, it has reached the austenite phase. So when it has reached the austenite phase, when you subject little more heat, then the material will be detwinned and it gets the austenite. So this is the process, how it goes on. So one thing you have to be clear, at low temperature, it will be in martensite. Then you subject to the heat, it gets deformed and it reaches the austenite phase, but it is not in fully austenite. Then further you apply the temperature, then it reaches the austenite phase. Then you subject to the cooling, it reaches to martensite. And when it is reached martensite, you apply the heat again, it reaches the austenite phase. From there you apply the heat again, then it reaches the required austenite structure. So this how goes on the experimental phenology from one part to the other. So these are the example for one-way memory and two-way memory. So here you can see in one-way memory, it is below MF, means here it is below martensite phase temperature. Okay, so what happens is this is a one-way memory. It is below martensite phase. So below martensite phase, it is an example for different type of wires. Okay, so this is below martensite phase and this is above austenite phase. This is below martensite phase and it is below martensite phase. How it is taking here understanding? You have to see, this is the first material at the room temperature. You are below the room temperature, then the given shape memory alloy will be at martensite phase because the temperature is low. Later, the heat will be increased. So when the heat will be increased, it helps in expansion and result in the formation of austenite. Okay, so but it hasn't reached the austenite temperature, means here the change of phase comes into picture from martensite to austenite, and still the temperature will be below martensite's phase. So when the required temperature is achieved, then it will be in the austenite. So here the twinning has happened. So twinning has happened due to the change of phase from martensite to that of austenite. So during the phase change, this structure change, the twinning will be seen. But once this twinning is done, this is the austenite what the material has reached. And again when you start cooling, the material comes back to the martensite phase. The same thing here what we understood with respect to the rod is being now shown with respect to the wire. So this is the wire at low temperature at martensite. When you subject to heating, the heat gets increased due to this. The expansion result, the twinning of the material takes place. Due to the twinning ended here, then the material has achieved the austenite phase. Once the austenite phase is achieved, again you subject for cooling. So this same martensite phase will be achieved over here. So this is how it happens in case of one-way memory. In case of two-way memory, it is a direct effect. What happens is below the temperature, the shape memory alloy will be under martensite phase. So when you subject to heat, right, so it gets expanded and it reaches the austenite phase here. And immediately when you cool, it go back to its original position here only. Means you have a loop here. One way and two way, a circular loop is followed continuously until you are subjecting the change in temperature frequently and consistently. So this provides a two-way memory effect. But here it is a one-way memory effect which doesn't come back with a loop here. It just shows the change in the phase transformation. So you should be knowing the difference between one-way memory and two-way memory related to the shape memory alloy phenomenology. Hope you understood the experimental phenomenology and one-way and two-way memory concept.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So in the next class, we will start up with how the shape memory alloys could be manufactured. So now let me ask you a few questions instead of quiz directly. So what did you understand today? Danush, can you let me know in few sentences?
Ma'am, about the shape memory alloys and types of it, ma'am.
Hmm.
Then
What we
one-way
did
memory.
today? Huh.
One-way memories, two-way memories, ma'am.
Okay. That's all we studied today. One-way and two-way memory we studied in the last class also. We started today with the phenomenological models. Can you tell me what are these phenomenological models? How many categories of phenomenological models are there? We studied three type of phenomenological model, right? What are those? First one I'm providing you an hint, which is experimental based models. What are the other two?
Ma'am,
Second one was thermo based, and what was the third one? More number, you can answer me.
Micromechanical models.
Yeah. So we dealt about three models. One is a experimental based, one is a thermo based, and one is a micromechanical models. So these were the three phenomenological models what we dealt, right? You should be very attentive in the class or else it was difficult. So what were the advantages we studied? Next person. Venkat Sai, Shri Harsha, you're there.
Yeah, ma'am.
What are the advantages we studied today?
Very high power weight ratio comparatively.
Okay, anything else?
Uh, hi- higher strain recovery,
Yeah.
higher strength,
So we studied high power strain, high power to weight ratio, high strain, high strength, and it has good high corrosion resistance also, right?
resistance.
So you should be very attentive. More number, what were the limitations?
Heat dissipation, need a mechanism for cooling,
Yeah,
and expensive to manufacture,
right.
less stiffness, less flexibility.
High flexibility, less stiffness.
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah.
it is very high flexibility, the stiffness will reduce. Okay. And apart from that, it has a very poor photic properties. So these were the limitations. So be attentive in the class. And coming to the application part, can anyone let me know what were the applications we dealt about for today's shape memory alloys? Sukrut?
Yes, ma'am.
What are the applications of shape memory alloys? We started with the application for aircraft. What were next? Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you at least tell me now?
Air conditioning in the car.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Air conditions in the car.
Okay.
To
Apart
make
from
the
that, we
and
also
the
dealt, human hand or it is robotics
no
hand.
robotics hands, ma'am.
Don't say human hand. Human hand is made up of God and it is always very beautiful and compared to any robotics.
Robotics hands.
What was the other field in which the shape memory alloy has its applications? Civil structures, right?
Yes, ma'am.
civil structures, and also we dealt about piping, and in the field of medicine also. In medicine, shape memory alloys are really today playing a very vital role. So we can say that this is the most best application of shape memory alloys basically for improving the human health when he has a major drawback related to the heart diseases. And also optometry was one more application to provide a flexible one. Then we started with experimental phenomenology. So what does A suffix F stands for? Sandesh, you're there. Related to the experimental phenomenology, we understood how the wire gets expanded and compressed. So in that, it changes the phase from austenite to martensite. So what is A suffix F?
Austenite phase.
What is M suffix S?
Martensite phase.
Yeah. So how these phases gets changed? Any idea?
When it is cooled, it shows the first figure. Is when there is no temperature being added to it. Ma'am.
Okay. And the last question to, where is the one more person? Mithun Gowda. He has left the meeting. He was there in the class until now. Fine. So please be regular in the class. Be attentive. If you once understand the concept, it will be easy for you to write in your own sentence. Okay. And compared to your internals, you should understand in writing in your own words and represent your answers still more better than how you have written. Okay. So please improve to write in a proper way and stick on to only the things which are being asked in the question. So then you will get the required amount of time as well as the marks also if you have written very properly to the question asked. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now all kindly answer your attendance. Dhanush,
Yes, ma'am.
Harsha,
Yes, ma'am.
Mohan Ambal,
Yes, ma'am.
Krut,
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Sandesh. Yeah,
Yes,
Sandesh.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just see why Mithun has left. I don't know. Everyone type your name and USN in your chat room. Sukrut has written the others. Dhanush done. Monambal done. Harsha, type it. Sandesh. Sandesh, kindly type your name and USN. Harsha. Okay, everyone, take care. Be safe until our next class.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.